Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good
Hi.
evening.
Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
What is our quorum this evening?
22.
Thank you.
3 more to go.
Nope. 6 more to go.
What'd you say, 22?
Yep.
I have 19 now.
Panelists, but Maria, Natasha, and I are not board members.
I-
And Julio, I have 6:30 now, so I'm going to start the webinar.
Thank you.
Water.
Believe we have it, Julio.
Thank you. We'll just wait another minute or so. Good evening, everyone. We're just going to wait another minute to get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone, to the April 19th General Board Meeting. My name is Julio Benia III. I am the CB7 Board Chair. I'd like to officially open the April meeting. And I'd like to ask our esteemed board member, Beverly, to lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
United
States
States of America, and
to
to
the
and to the
republic
republic for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty,
and justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. And now we will go into a roll call. And I'd like to ask Maria to take the roll, please.
Okay, good evening, all board members. I will be calling roll call. Once I call your name, please unmute yourself, say here or present, and once again, mute yourself. Thank you. Ramon Acevedo,
Present.
thank you. Amel Afzal,
Present.
thank you. Sandra Alfonso,
Present.
thank you. Grisel Amador,
Present.
thank you. Hennis Aquino. Hennis Aquino,
Present.
thank you. Joan Body,
Here.
thank you. Gladys Bruno. Gladys Bruno. Joseph Canale. Joseph Canale. Jerry Chan,
Present.
thank you. Thank you. Justin Collins,
Here.
thank you. Christina Dawes. Christina Dawes. John DeLuper,
Present.
thank you. Beatrice Sapio. I see you. I acknowledge you, Beatrice. David Estrada,
Present.
thank you. Cynthia Felix,
Present.
thank you. John Fantillis. John Fantillis. Ken Fung. Ken Fung. Cynthia Gonzalez. Cynthia Gonzalez. Diana Gonzalez,
Present.
thank you. Hector Gonzalez,
Here.
thank you. Kenny Guan,
I'm here.
thank you. Nicole Huang,
Here.
thank you. John Johnston,
Here.
thank you. Beverly Kleiman,
Present.
thank you. Waco. Waco. Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee. Christina Lem,
I'm here.
thank you. Jimmy Lee,
Present.
thank you. Lynette Lopez,
Present.
thank you. Paul Mack,
I'm here.
thank you. Antoinette Martinez,
Hi, good evening, present.
thank you. Aurelis Martinez,
Present.
thank you. Marilyn Melman,
Here.
thank you. Dan Murphy. Dan Murphy. Julio Pena III,
Present.
thank you. Karen Rolnick,
Here.
thank you. Patricia Ruiz. Patricia Ruiz. Damaris Santiago. Damaris Santiago. Sam Sierra. Sam Sierra. Victor Swinton. Victor Swinton. Cindy Vanderbosch.
I'm here.
Thank you. Catherine Walsh.
I'm here.
Thank you. Cesar Zuniga. Cesar Zuniga. Okay, roll call has been called.
Thank you, Maria. I'd like to move now to adopting the meeting minutes of the adoption of the agenda of our meeting today, April 19th. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as emailed today and earlier last week?
Joan makes a motion to accept.
Thank you. So motion by Joan, Is there a second? Second by Beverly by raise of hand. Seeing or hearing no objection to adopt the agenda as presented, it is so adopted. Moving on to adoption of the minutes from the March 15th, 2023 board meeting, which was emailed out to board members. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
Joan makes a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you.
Seconded by Pat.
Thank you. Seconded by Pat. Seeing or hearing no objection to adopt the minutes presented? None. The minutes are adopted unanimously. Thank you. And before we move on to public comment, I'm going to ask Cindy just to share the agenda, today's agenda briefly. The first public comment is for items that are on the agenda today. So if there are members of the public who wish to speak on an item that is on the agenda today, you may do so now by raising your hand, and we will call on you. So if there are members of the public who wish to speak on an item on the agenda, you may do so now by raising your hand, and we will call on you. And I will ask Jeremy if you can call on anyone who has raised their hand.
I have one person who has their hand raised. Give me 1 second. Oh, there he is. I'm sorry. Jorge Muniz Reyes, you can speak. Please unmute yourself.
Hey, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, I'll keep this brief. So my name's Jorge. I live here in Sunset, as a lot of y'all know, up on 60th and 5th. This is a comment on the Public Safety Committee agenda item that I know y'all have for discussion tonight. There's a new commanding officer, as a lot of y'all know, Captain Suarez. And look, most recently, a lot of us have seen a lot of police enforcement, particularly in our park, supposedly aimed at increasing public safety. But everybody that's been in the park last 2 Sundays know that 100 cops, parks and NYPD, 72nd precinct, and all this overtime that's being spent in the park is not helping public safety. In fact, for a lot of y'all that were there last Sunday, Easter Sunday, y'all saw that it was hurting public safety, hurting grandmothers, abuelas, people, working people, a lot of them from the neighborhood. So respectfully, I'd love to see this community board actually be a voice for true public safety instead of isolated neighborhood complaints, which is, unfortunately what, for the most part, I've seen this community board discuss. So in my opinion, all that money that we spent for overtime in the park should be better spent going after unsolved cases in the neighborhood, like a recent sexual assault that happened on 24th Street and 5th Avenue that remains unsolved. I think that's a better use of resources. So with all due respect, that's my comment. And hopefully y'all have a productive, meaningful conversation about public safety tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge.
I see no additional hands up, Julio.
Thank you, Jeremy. Moving on to committee reports. Just bear with me 1 second. My screen disappeared. There we go. Committee reports. The first committee, Joint Committee for Public Safety and Education and Youth. I'll just defer to the committee chair if there are any items that they'd like to elevate from the meeting minutes. And if not, I'll refer members to the meeting minutes. And hearing nothing, I will refer you to the meeting minutes. Moving on to the executive committee meeting. And just bear with me 1 second. So there will be a vote tonight from the elevated from the executive committee. Just first to discuss there was a discussion on hybrid meeting resolution that is not ready yet, but just to discuss there was a change in the state law to allow hybrid meetings. It gets a little tricky. I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but we are working on a resolution so that when the emergency order that allows virtual meetings expires, that we can allow hybrid meetings, or we will be allowed to have hybrid meetings. That does need to have a resolution by this board. So we are working on that. We are getting feedback from the borough president's office on some language. And once that is drafted and worked on, it'll be sent to the full board to vote on. And when the executive order is rescinded, hopefully will allow us to work on it or allow us to meet hybrid. So we'll be ready and set to go. The second item, the executive committee did meet also reviewing the financial employment history of board staff. Over the past couple of years, this board did a couple of years ago prior to COVID, did issue a salary increase to prior board staff, but did not issue any increases to our district manager. A couple of months ago, we did engage a conversation about a increase to our district manager. The executive committee met twice to review the salary history, and after a review of that and some discussion between myself and the district manager, the executive committee has decided on a 3% increase for this fiscal year 2023, which ends June 30th, 2023. And barring any financial calamities next fiscal year, a 2% increase next fiscal year 2024, which begins July 1st, 2023, and ends June 30th, 2024, and going forward. So that did come out of the executive committee and will require a full vote by this board. And it is open to discussion by the board now. So that is open to the board for discussion. So I'll entertain any questions. I see Diana Gonzalez.
Yeah, what's the rationale for having 2 increases in consecutive years instead of doing it all at once?
So that's an excellent question. The rationale is the executive committee wanted to be conservative in the increase. We do not know what our financial situation will be next fiscal year based on what the city's budget will be. And this kind of allows us to, if the board's budget next fiscal year is less than what we anticipate, or is any less than what we think it might be, it allows us to adjust the increase so that it doesn't affect the board's operating expenses.
I actually had a second question. Do you know of what the rate of inflation has been between when he last had a salary increase and this one?
That's actually a good question. I do not know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know to what extent this is actually a raise versus simply a COLA.
Thank you. I see Antoinette.
I'm just curious, will any additional job duties be associated with this increase? And if so, which specifically are they?
As of this time, there are not any additional duties associated with the increase, but the board has been discussing rolling out the new website. And later on in my chairperson's report, I will be discussing some things that we are rolling out that will be in the purview of the district manager. Catherine and then Justin.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a question. I just want to say inflation this year, everyone's been hit by it. It's running at 6%. And have had interactions with some other district managers. And I just want to acknowledge the work of this district manager continuously stepping up across so many issues in the community. So, I mean, I think it's good for us to be engaged and learn more and ask questions, but I hope that we're all able to advance this within this conversation.
Thank you, Catherine. Justin?
Oops, sorry, I was on mute. So is there any sense of what the typical increase is across other community boards this year? If other district managers are receiving more significant increases than the 3% that's being proposed here?
That information is not as readily accessible. It's pretty much at the discretion of each community board. I mean, the executive committee did look at some comparable data, but
yeah. I guess my question is there any sense of whether what's being offered here is competitive with just what's out there, and if there's any kind of information around that?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. You know, I would hope so.
Thank you. No, that's it for me. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Are there any additional questions? Cindy?
This is not necessarily a question, but just related to Justin's question. As I remember in the meeting, we also did discuss that the salary overall was competitive from, I thought that was something that you or someone else had mentioned on the call. But I'm not sure. So I just wanted to share that. So Julio, if you're not sure, but I thought that was part of our conversation as well.
Thank you, Cindy. I would like to move to a vote. I would like to do this by unanimous consent, if there are no objections. Seeing or hearing no objections. Going once or twice. The 3% increase for this fiscal year and 2% increase for next fiscal year, barring any financial calamity, is so adopted via unanimous consent. Thank you very much, board. Moving on to the Housing Committee, there is no vote required, but I will turn it over to the chair and vice chair if they have any additional comments to add.
Hi, everyone. So my apologies for dropping the ball. You won't find any minutes included with the agenda. Wasn't able to submit those on time. However, we did have a meeting this month where we discussed, had a conversation to prioritize agenda items for the rest of the year. We had a really great conversation about different housing issues in the community, and we're able to have a conversation that led to the meeting that's happening actually this Monday. So we have an invited speaker from the New York City Community Land Initiative. So we're going to be having a conversation that's an introduction to community land trusts and land banks, and really invite you all to participate. And that's all I have. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much, Antoinette. My apologies. We have been joined by State Senator Andrew Gennardis, and we'll take a pause from committee reports to turn it over to the State Senator. Welcome.
Thank you, Julio. Good evening, everyone. Greetings from sunny but gloomy Albany. We are still up here trying to finalize the state budget, which is now 19 days late, which is very, very frustrating to me. I think to many people. For those of you that don't know, New York's budget, $227 billion. So there's a lot at stake in terms of what all the decisions we make, in terms of the investments we make, education, housing, healthcare, environment, et cetera, so on. So there's a lot on the table to really get through. I won't bore you all with all of the details about the budget, just to say, things that I'm really focusing on right now. MTA funding, the MTA has a $1.3 billion shortfall because of COVID. We have to change how we fund public transit. If we don't solve this shortfall, that'll mean service cuts and fare increases, both of which I think are untenable and will only make the system worse. We are working very hard on a comprehensive housing solution. As we all know, we're in a housing crisis. It's really fitting that I follow the housing committee. Not only do we need to build a ton of new housing, affordable housing, all the areas that we can at multiple income levels, we also have to do a lot more about protecting people in homes right now with things like Good Cause, housing access voucher program, and a whole bunch of other things. It's a big part of the conversation. And frankly, one of the reasons why we're so delayed is because we have not come to resolution on housing. That, of course, also includes refilling the emergency rental assistance program and making those funds eligible to residents in both public housing and subsidized housing, which so far they have been excluded from, which is incredibly problematic. And the last thing I'll highlight there is I've been trying to expand the child tax credit here in New York so that we can give more money back to families who need it, who have children, so that they can pay for their essentials. New York State excludes children 0 to 3 from qualifying for the state child tax credit, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And so we're trying to close that loophole and expand it in other ways. Outside of that, I know we this week had a meeting with DOT, the long-awaited 3rd Avenue traffic study meeting. I'm sure there'll be a discussion of it later on. This has been part of the conversation around some of the BQE stuff. That was one of our demands to DOT to get them to finally come back to the community, as was promised many, many years ago, many times, to really start addressing a lot of the safety concerns along 3rd Avenue. I obviously wasn't there. I was up here. I heard that we didn't have just a huge turnout, which is concerning, but we have to clearly keep pushing for this conversation and to make sure that DOT doesn't forget about what they've previously committed to here and what else we need them to work on along the corridor. And other than that, I'll stop there. There's probably a lot more I could talk about, but I know you have a full meeting, so I'm happy to take a question or two, Julio, if you want. Otherwise, my staff is on the call, and hopefully I'll see you guys in person real soon.
Thank you, Senator. I'll entertain 1 or 2 questions from board members, and I already see a hand up from Cynthia Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you. My question to the senator is, and welcome, by the way, My question to the senator is that you stated that housing issues is one of the issues that is holding up the budget. Now, our city being a sanctuary city and having received so many people into our city, is that is there emergency monies set aside for that, and how is that impacting people needing how should I say, subsidies and stuff like that? What's going on with that? I mean, is this complicating, is this making people that have already been waiting a long time in our city for their housing, vouchers or whatever? Is that having an impact on it, or is there money set aside for those people specifically?
So the answer to both your questions is no. The number of migrants we've had come to New York City, over 50,000 over the last year and change, really significant. Right now, a lot of those migrants are being housed either in the shelter system or in the emergency shelter system being set up through these HERCs, these kind of mass sites. And a lot of folks, about half of the migrants who have come to New York already have left, and they're going to other places. New York was not their final destination. They came here because they were bused here or planed here or whatever, but they were trying to get to Toledo or Akron or Toronto or wherever. So a lot of folks have left. We still have a significant number still in the city though, but that has no impact on people's ability. That's not exacerbating the housing crisis. That's putting pressure on the shelter system, which is a big concern. But it's not taking someone out of an apartment or preventing someone from getting an apartment, and it's now going to an asylee or a migrant. So we have to kind of do both. Like even before this crisis, New York needed to be building. New York City was about 500,000 housing units behind where it needed to be, just to keep pace with population growth. So that's a separate conversation. As it regards to funding, there's some dispute back and forth. Clearly, it costs a lot of money to provide emergency assistance to these migrants. The mayor has asked for quite a lot of money to help pay for a lot of these expenses. The governor proposed $1 billion aid package to the city. The federal government also allocated about $1 billion to deal with this nationwide, and we anticipate that New York City would probably qualify or receive about 3/4 of that because we've dealt with the vast majority of this, but that money has not yet come through. So that's been a source of advocacy that the mayor's been making, the city council's been making, I've been making. I got my colleagues to do a letter to the federal government about that. So we're trying to get those resources here to ease the burden on the city in dealing with the migrants, ease the burden on our shelter system. But really the housing crisis, the need for more housing, the need for eviction protection, the need to keep people in their homes through a new voucher program, that's all separate. And in some ways a much bigger crisis than what we're dealing with refugees.
Thank you.
Asylees.
Thank you. And lastly, question from Diana Gonzalez.
Hello, welcome to CB7, Senator.
Hello.
I was wondering if there had been any progress on your bill for noise cameras along highways.
Not yet.
Anything folks can do to help, we'd be interested in knowing about it.
So we're actually following up right now. DEP is doing a pilot program on a noise camera monitoring system that's based on my bill. We are actually in the process of doing a follow-up conversation meeting with them to discuss the results of their pilot and see how it's been going so far, to see how we can tweak my bill or change it, or how we can deploy this citywide. So stay tuned, I guess, is the best thing I would say at this point, because I'm hoping to really glean a lot of positive information from them about how their noise camera program has been working, and then what we can do from there to expand it.
Thanks.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
So continuing to our committee reports, I will circle back to the Joint Public Safety Committee and Education Youth Committee to see if Cynthia wanted to add anything to her report.
Thank you, Julio. I just encourage everyone to look at the YouTube. We discussed some incidents that were regarding youth in the community and some of the measures that are being taken to protect the youth in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. And so moving on to the other joint committee meeting, Education, Youth, and Parks. There's no vote required, but I will ask the chairs if they wanted to add any additional comments. Seeing none, I will move on to the agenda. Moving on to joint committee meeting between executive and land use was a presentation from the Brooklyn Borough President's office. There was no vote required. You can refer, I would strongly refer you to the YouTube presentation, the YouTube recording, I should say, and the committee meeting minutes. The YouTube recording is very informative. And some exciting things coming from the BP's office. And lastly, the committee meeting from the Economic Development and Waterfront Committee, which there will be a vote required this evening.
Correct. Hi. So this is Dave Estrada, co-chair for the Economic Development Committee. We had a good committee meeting with a presentation from the New York City Economic Development Corporation about the Made in New York campus. For most of us, that's the foot of 43rd Street, the old Bush Terminal buildings, which are in the process of major capital renovations to become a kind of hub for fashion and others. We reviewed design elements, spoke to folks from the EDC about resilience and solar panels and design aspects and public access and others. So that was an informational readout. It's all available on the YouTube. And if we hadn't gotten the minutes to you soon enough, I regret, but we'll get those out. John Santori very kindly produced minutes for that meeting. The second part of that presentation was from Percent for the Arts. It's a function of the Department of Cultural Affairs, where they describe their process for sourcing public art that is funded with a percentage of large capital projects at the Made in New York campus. Some representatives from that agency presented their process, their vetting, which included community input. And boy, folks on this community board, you might have remembered some of those presentations about that were 2 years ago or more. So it's been a very attenuated process. The artists also presented their jury selected work. The committee had some probing questions about the relevance of the art and the accessibility of the process to Sunset Park specifically. And a vote was taken on a simple letter of general support for the concept of the art, which has not yet been finalized. The motion for that correspondence did not pass. We had basically a split committee, and so there is therefore no recommendation from the committee, but it is an item for this board to consider, and that's about what I have.
Thank you so much.
Julio, kindly, you were there for the whole thing, and it was a good long conversation because we got into like back and forth, which is probably what should happen in committee meetings. The committee came to no recommendation to support that, and it was a good exchange. Whether there's a vote yay or nay on a particular letter of recommendation, I think it showed Community Board 7 at its best. So thank you to all the committee members and public attendees.
Thank you, David. And I appreciate the very last thing you just said. It really did highlight the the good dialogue and use of the committee structure, because it out very much allowed us to really dive into like, this is how we feel and see what we think the space should be. Although it like didn't really result in like something that we like in a positive, I mean, I wouldn't say a positive, but like in a split kind of decision, I think it very much highlighted a very positive discussion in terms of like, this is how we feel that this waterfront should represent this neighborhood kind of thing. So, but I appreciate your thoughtful analysis of it. So I see some hands from Cynthia Gonzalez.
I just wanted to say that we lost quorum during that meeting. And I know that people knew that there was going to be a vote. And I just want to encourage all of our board members and our community people to stay till the end of the meeting, because it could have went the other way. That's all I needed to say.
Thank you. Cindy?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, and I know you don't have the minutes quite yet, but David, is there a photo of the work of art so that can be shared with the board to see, or could we pull it up? Maybe we could even pull it up and share a screen from YouTube to show what it looks like.
There was a follow-up document sent by the Department of Cultural Affairs, which may include those images. But I would note, and we should all look at this, right? But I would note that the call was not necessarily a thumbs up or thumbs down vote on a particular piece of art. It was more a general assent to the process and the placement of the public art, that DCA was presenting. And I think in the end that was part of our issue, part of our honest, like heartfelt issue about making a better place in Sunset Park, was that they're both on the table in a way, because you can't not respond to the art that you see, even if you're questioning the process that got to the art. So that was a curious corner of the conversation in my observation, and a good one, but not an easy one.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jeremy or the staff, on the quick can throw that up on the screen, but perhaps that's a follow-up item.
Yeah, that's fair. And there was one other thing too and that is true, right? Like it's partially about the work of art that will be there for the public to experience and enjoy. And it's also about the process. And I think much of the discussion involved the DCA's process. And so that's totally fair. I also wanted to clarify that DCA was asking for the letter of, like, whether we support the letter of, or whether we would issue a letter of support. Yes. Right. Or no, right. So that was the other thing I just wanted to clarify. Okay. Thank you.
And it will take me a few minutes to get it. It's like a 63-page document, but I'm sure I can find it in that. I do want to say they are asking for a letter. They would like us to support it. If we do not support it or we take no position, they're still asking for a letter to say that we have reviewed it and taken no position. So they want documentation that they have been to us.
Right, and in response to notes that I see in text, sorry to get into details of the committee. The quorum was present when the vote was taken about the DCA percent for the arts letter of support or letter of acknowledgement. There was quorum present for that, and quorum was lost just after that.
Thank you.
If I'm reading those text messages correctly.
Yes. So this came out of, there was a no position out of the committee. The action item before this board is to let me make sure I have this right. We can affirm the no position with the comments from the committee. So a yes vote would be to affirm that position, or a no vote would be to not affirm that position, would be to say no. I think I have that correct. Or abstain. Gets a little complicated here. And that is a image of what they are working on. It's not going to look exactly like that, to my understanding, but that's what we have there.
I've neglected to add that a portion of the Department of Cultural Affairs processes some youth engagement at local schools in the finalization of the designs that was mentioned.
Okay. Are there any additional questions? Okay. Sandra?
Hi, can you clarify again the voting?
Sure. This was moved out of committee, but the committee did not take a position. It was a split vote. So the vote before this board is to affirm that decision that we are taking no position on the presentation from, we are taking no position on the artwork for these, am I getting the acronyms right? DCP or DCA?
DCA.
Yeah, there we go, for DCA. So it is to affirm that we are taking no position and that we are submitting our comments. Cindy?
Would we include the comments from the committee? And I'm just wondering, should we summarize those comments for the board? Even though we don't yet have the minutes, like what sort of so that everyone's informed of why there was some debate there?
We can summarize those comments. I don't believe we have those comments as of yet, but it'll be summarized when we submit the letter. Karen?
I'm finding the resolution a little bit confusing because, you know, what if you actually support it? Then do you vote to support the process? I mean, I think that maybe we should maybe table this until the minutes are written, until the deck with the pictures in it and all that can be distributed so that people can know what we're talking about.
So is that a motion to table this to the?
Yeah, I guess I move to table this to the next meeting.
Julio, this is a time-sensitive issue. It was second.
Jeremy?
So I didn't hear the second.
I second.
That was me, Diana. I
heard
feel like
the-
I have no idea what position to take on this with so little information.
Okay, so there is a motion to table and second by Diana. The motion is to table to the May board meeting. I also recognize that this is time sensitive, but I also am not going to force this board to vote on something that they're not prepared to vote on. This does need to be the motion to table does need to be voted on. So I would like to, there is a discussion first before we do vote. So I see two hands up. So Cindy and Cynthia.
Yeah, I would just like to share that if we needed to, there were plenty of board members who were on this call, and we could lay out the two kind of, lay out what we thought and what the challenges were if we did take a vote. But so that's an alternative that I just wanted to share, knowing that this is time sensitive. But I also want all board members to be as informed as possible, and it's hard to vote on something if you haven't seen kind of the notes and have a summary of the meeting.
Cynthia Felix?
I just want to know when is this, you guys, you said time sensitive, so is May okay? Or is it before that? When is this due? I guess that would be my question.
Would you like me to answer, Julio?
Yes, please, Jeremy.
The answer is we don't know. We were told it's going before PDC in the spring. So May might be okay. They might not be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Justin?
So I guess my point is sort of more of clarification. I guess the challenge I'm seeing about taking a vote here is that the vote is to support a position of no position, or to not support a position of no position. And then to not support a position of no position, I don't know what that means.
So if we had not supported a position of no position, then this board would then have to overrule the committee. So then they would have to take a position against of what the committee.
And then that would be another vote of taking a position in favor, against, or no position.
Correct.
Okay.
But there is a motion on the floor.
Yes, right now there is a motion on the floor to table, so that motion needs to be addressed before we can move forward. So let's do this by a roll call vote. The motion right now is to table the vote to the May board meeting until we have additional information. A yes vote is to table this to May. A no vote is to not table and to continue this discussion and then proceed to a vote. So let's proceed to the roll call vote.
Thank you, Julio. I'm going to mute everybody. When I call your name, please unmute yourself, share your vote, and then mute yourself again. I will acknowledge your vote when you do so. So let's start with Ramon Acevedo.
Table it.
So that's a yes vote.
Yeah,
A
yes.
Yes is
Yeah.
to table.
Yes.
Thank you. Amel Afzal.
Yes.
Thank you. You voted yes. Sandra Alfonso.
May.
Sandra Alfonso, nay. Grisel Amador.
Yes.
Grisel Amador, yes. Genesis Aquino. Genesis Aquino.
Abstain.
Genesis Aquino abstain. Joan Body.
Abstain.
Joan Body abstain. Gladys Bruno.
Yes.
Gladys Bruno, yes. Joseph Canali. Joseph Canali. Jerry Chan.
Yes.
Jerry Chan, yes. Justin Collins.
Yes.
Justin Collins, yes. Christina Das. Christina Das. John DeLupa.
Yes.
John DeLupa, yes. Beatrice DeSapio.
Yes.
Beatrice DeSapio, yes. David Estrada. David Estrada.
Yes.
David Estrada, yes. Cynthia Felix.
Yes.
Cynthia Felix, yes. John Fontillis. John Fontelis, Kin Feng, Kin Feng, Cynthia Gonzalez,
Yes.
Cynthia Gonzalez, yes. Diana Gonzalez,
Yes.
Diana Gonzalez, yes. Hector Gonzalez, Hector Gonzalez, Kenny Guan.
Abstain.
Hector, yes. Hang on, folks. Kenny Guan.
Abstain.
Kenny Guan abstain. Did I hear Hector Gonzalez?
Yes.
Hector, what is your vote?
Yes.
Hector Gonzalez, yes. Nicole Huang.
Yes.
Nicole Huang, yes. John Johnston.
No.
John Johnston, no. Beverly Kleinman. Beverly Kleinman. Wyco.
Yes.
Wyco, yes. Folks, if you're finished voting, please mute yourself again. Barbara Lee.
Yes.
Barbara Lee, yes. Christina Lem.
Yes. Can I ask a question or does it have to be after?
This is the vote right now, so you
Okay.
have to wait. Christina Lem, yes. Jimmy Lee. Jimmy Lee. Leonette Lopez.
Yes.
Leonette Lopez, yes. Paul Mack.
Yes.
Paul Mack, yes. Antoinette Martinez.
Yes.
Antoinette Martinez, yes. Arelis Martinez. Arelis Martinez.
Yes.
Arelis Martinez, yes. Marilyn Melman.
Yes.
Marilyn Melman, yes. Dan Murphy. Dan Murphy. Julio Pena.
Yes.
Julio Pena, yes. Karen Rolnick.
Yes.
Karen Rolnick, yes. Patricia Ruiz.
Yes.
Patricia Ruiz, yes. Damaris Santiago.
Yes.
Damaris Santiago, yes. Sam Sierra.
Yes.
Sam Sierra, yes. Victor Swinton. Victor Swinton. Cindy Vandenbosch.
Present.
Cindy Vandenbosch, present. Catherine Walsh. Catherine
Voting
Walsh.
yes. Voting yes.
Catherine Walsh, yes. Cesar Zuniga. Cesar Zuniga. The vote is 27 yes, I'm sorry, 28 yes, 2 noes, 3 abstentions, 1 voting present. The motion to table carries.
Thank you, Jeremy. So this will be presented or reintroduced at our May board meeting. Thank you very much, David. Was there anything additional to present from the committee? I see your
No.
head. Thank you. Christina.
Hi. So I just wanted to know if Jeremy, if you can ask them when they need to know by. Because I've worked with DCA in the past, and I believe their new funding cycle starts in summer in June. Can you just ask them so that we have an idea?
So this isn't about funding. This is about them going before the Public Design Commission. The Public Design Commission has not put them on the schedule, but they say it's going to be spring.
Okay.
We don't know when that meeting is going to be.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to our second roll call of the evening, I will turn it to Maria.
Okay, board members, I will be calling the names of those board members that were not present at the first roll call. When you hear your name, unmute yourself, say here or present, and once again, mute yourself. Gladys Bruno. Gladys Bruno. I see you, I acknowledge you.
Present. I was having problems with my button here.
Joseph Canale. Joseph Canale. Christina Das. Christina Das. John Fontillas. John Fontillas. Ken Fung. Ken Fung. Cynthia Gonzalez. Cynthia Gonzalez.
Present.
Thank you. Waco.
Yeah.
Thank you. Barbara Lee.
Present.
Thank you. Dan Murphy. Dan Murphy. Patricia Ruiz.
I was present at both, but I'll say present again.
Okay, thank you. Damaris Santiago.
Present.
Thank you. Sam Sierra.
Present. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Victor Swinton. Victor Swinton. Cesar Zuniga. Cesar Zuniga. Okay, second roll call called.
Thank you so much, Maria.
You're welcome.
I'd like to now turn it to our elected officials report and ask, where'd she go on my screen? There she is. Natasha, who will help us call our elected officials.
Okay, thank you, Julio. John Watkins from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, please unmute yourself. John Watkins, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. I had to sort of re-sign in on my phone. Anyway, just want to touch base with you all. D.A. Gonzalez sends his well wishes. I ran into him yesterday in the hallway on my way out the building to another meeting. And he asked me to express to everyone, especially during this holy season, you know, the well wishes for Ramadan, Passover, and of course Easter as well. And so he always likes to sort of make sure that he acknowledges our cultural holidays, and these are amongst the most important. Moving on, just as I always do, I ask people to go to our website, brooklyndA.org. And also yesterday, I pulled up one of our press releases about a conviction of an incident, a person who committed an incident of sexual assault at the Liberty Avenue.
John, you're muted again.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, all right. Sorry about that. Yes, just summarizing about an incident that came to judgment with a prosecution of a defendant who committed a sexual assault in August of 2021 at the Liberty Avenue NY station. And that person committed this heinous assault. The DA asked me to commend the NYPD for finding that individual within 24 hours. And Judge Chu, a couple of days ago, issued a 20-year sentence, 25-year sentence on this person. And he will, after serving that 20 years, will have to then be monitored as a sex offender for another 20 years. So it's things like that that are on our website each and every day that shows the work of the DA and all of his almost 600 ADAs, who are tasked with protecting the community. And oftentimes these things occur as a news flash and it's off the radar, and it takes many, many months and sometimes years for things to finally come to judgment. So please, when it's not fun reading all the time, but it's important that the community knows the work that the DA is doing for their safety. And lastly, on Friday, this coming Friday, there is what they call Take Back Prescription Drug event that's going on nationally. The DA has partnered with the NYPD as well as the U.S. Justice Department. And the site that is in our community will be at the CB7 location at the library sort of hallway there. This Friday from from 12 o'clock until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is where people have prescription drugs that are expired or unused that they no longer need, and for the safety of people, as well as especially kids who might think they're candy, to dispose of them properly. And so this is going throughout Brooklyn. On our website, there are locations of other sites that will be participating. But for our immediate area, it will be the CB7 location, and also in the other area I cover, which is downtown Brooklyn, the 84th precinct location on Gold Street will also be a site where people can drop off their unused prescription medication. That's all I have to say for now, and best wishes for everyone for the remainder of the meeting, and have a productive month. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Are you still there?
Yep, go ahead.
Yes, last month someone asked me about wrongfully convicted persons, what the DA's office is doing, and I did get a number in terms of the number of cases that are being looked into, and as it stands now, it's about 50. That's 50 wrongfully convicted cases that are being investigated. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and thank you for circling back with that data.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, I'd like to call on Mun Yuk Yu from the Borough President's Office. Mun, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for having me here to represent Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. I'd like to start by sharing that beginning this month, we are hoping that all community boards will be able to welcome our newest community board members to begin to attend monthly meetings and learn the ropes of what it means to be a board member, especially at the direct line between our neighborhoods and our city government. We are really excited to share that May 4th will be the swearing-in date for this new cohort at Brooklyn Borough Hall. So we encourage anyone who is interested in coming to attend and celebrate with all of our new appointees. I do also want to share that we have a lot of exciting programming that's coming through from our office. And specifically, I want to highlight that our office has been, our constituent services team has been working on coordinating a community resources information series. This Friday, we actually have our next information series at United Senior Center of Sunset Park, where at 10:30 a.m., where New York City Department of Aging will present on an overview of services available for older adult populations to age in place. And additional nonprofits and city agencies will also be on site tabling and providing additional related resources. So if you have any organizations in mind that would be interested, I do want to give a shout out to Grisel, who's also here on the line. Feel free to reach out to her for additional information. And March was also a very busy month for our office. We worked with the city council and the mayor to develop our FY24 city budget, and the borough president also provided testimony on a number of items related to the preliminary budget. Specifically, I want to highlight that we were able to provide testimony in working with our borough board on budget cuts and additional funding that we would like to see for our community boards as well. So happy to hear additional feedback from CP members regarding any recommendations that you have for future budget hearings as well. But we were also able to provide additional testimony on sanitation, transportation issues, and hospitals and education. Additionally, in March, the borough president convened two public engagement sessions at the Coney Island YMCA to present information for residents on the proposal for the Coney Island Casino. This public engagement session allowed us to better understand local perspectives and needs related to this process. And over 250 residents participated in the two sessions. We are accepting additional feedback regarding Coney Island's casino. So if there are any additional feedback points that you would like to share, feel free to send them to me and I'll refer you to our land use team who's working on this issue. I also want to share that on March 31st, Borough President Reynoso announced the appointment of Reverend Kimberly Council as Deputy Borough President, as many of you might have heard. So in her new role, Reverend Council will be serving as an external surrogate for the Borough President, while also leading our faith-based work and other special projects for our administration. And prior to her role, Reverend Council was actually an assistant pastor of Greater Mount Pleasant Baptist Church in Crown Heights, Brooklyn since 2021. Her appointment will be effective or is effective April 17th, 2023. So she actually just started this past week, and you will likely be seeing her in and around our communities, and hopefully you will have a chance to meet her at an upcoming meeting or board event. So that is all that I have to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mom. Natasha, anyone else?
Yes, next I have Jane from Senator Chu's office. Jane, you can please unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Jing Duang. I'm the Chief of Staff for State Senator Ewen Chu. We want to wish everybody a happy Easter, happy Passover, happy Ramadan to those who celebrate. The Senator sponsored a resolution in the State Senate to commemorate Ramadan, the holiest month in the Islamic calendar. She represents one of the most, the biggest Muslim community in New York City, and we wish everybody who observe a peaceful, safe, and healthy Ramadan. As our colleague, State Senator Andrew Granados just mentioned, the state Senate and the Assembly is still in the process of budget negotiation. Senator Ewen Chu is in Albany fighting for more fundings for our AAPI community, no tuition hike for CUNY, SUNY, for our student and our working family. We're hoping that the budget will have a result soon that can fund the MTA and fund our schools. We want to bring to everybody's attention that last week we had a press conference regarding a family who came to our office for help. They have a 9-month-old baby who was diagnosed with brain tumor since she was 2 months old. There was a tumor in her brain on the nerve between the eye and the brain. So the growing tumor is impacting the vision of the baby. The family also have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old young kids. So this family is going through a very difficult time. They reach out to our office. We were able to get them childcare vouchers for the older kids, and we're able to get them in-home nursing services. through the insurance. However, they are still facing a lot of challenges ahead of them, especially with the baby going through chemotherapy. We don't know yet whether the tumor will be under control or it can still be expanding. So the family is asking community for help. We were able to find them lawyers to set up a medical trust. So all the community donation will go to this medical trust for the baby for the ongoing medical expenses. I will drop the GoFundMe link in the chat. If you can help spread the word to help the family, we would really appreciate that. And last but not least, our office is in the final stage of securing our permanent office space. Fingers crossed. We're hoping that on the first week of May, we will be able to make the announcement about the new office address. So please keep an eye out on our social media for the announcement. Meanwhile, we are still doing our mobile office hour from Wednesday through Friday at different locations, so constituent can get to us. That's pretty much all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Next, I have Edward Cerner from Council Member Aviles' office. Edward, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Edward Cerner here from Councilmember Alexa Aviles' office. I am in the field, so sorry if you pick up any background noise. Quick legislative update. The council member introduced Intro 708, which, as I think I've spoken about at a previous meeting, is legislation that rethinks our truck routes. That legislation recently went up for a hearing and we got a lot of community feedback. We are optimistic that this legislation will eventually become law. And as a reminder, we've seen explosions of last mile facilities in Red Hook, and we have one coming to Sunset Park as well. So rethinking our truck routes and looking at how this increased activity with the trucks is impacting our communities is like long overdue. So again, we're optimistic that this legislation will eventually make it into law. As for, I believe it was brought up earlier in the meeting, as we know, the plazas have been an issue of concern in the community with the response with the vendors and PD and all. The council member, along with Assembly Member Matenas, issued a statement saying that they want to see a peaceful resolution here, right? And so we are talking with city agencies to see what the path forward is. We have precedent in this community, particularly in Red Hook. Here in District 38, we have that history where vendors came together and were able to get go through the process to eventually get permitted. Again, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a long work, but we think we're going to get there. So we are going to be convening community conversations around this issue. And so stay tuned. We'll have more on that a little bit later. Quick community events that I want to highlight. It's Earth Month. So Saturday, April 22nd at 11 a.m. The Partnership for Parks and PCR, our very own Nicole Tong's parent-child relationship, are going to have a cleanup in the park. So meetup location is 41st Street and 6th Avenue Park entrance. So definitely encourage folks to go to that. Also, last night was the first of two 3rd Avenue public workshop, public safety, like feedback community sessions with DOT. I want to commend John DeLuper and particularly Transit Chair Katie Walsh for really being on top of this issue for a very long time. I myself also have been raising the alarm about issues on 3rd Avenue with the BQE and 3rd Avenue. So, we would have wished more attendance. And I think that while all of our offices across all levels of government are advocating for more resources to go into 3rd Avenue and the BQE, we really do need the community input there. So definitely encourage both board members to attend the next one, which is coming up on Thursday, April 27 at 6:30 p.m., which will be at PS 503 at 330 59th Street. But also to pass the word, bring a neighbor, bring a friend, because we really must get this right, and it'll make our job on the elected side to push these agencies to put resources there if we have the community backing us up. Lastly, Saturday, April 29th is going to be the Healing Center and Womankind Safe Horizons New York City Teen Dating Violence Awareness Walk. 10 a.m. the meetup will be at Tiller Street and Cadman Plaza, and then Teen and all these wonderful orgs are going to do a walk across the Brooklyn Bridge to City Hall to bring awareness around teen dating violence. So I'll leave it at that. As always, you can send your questions or any feedback to ecerna@council.nyc.gov. And thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much, Edward.
Next, I have Myra Molina from Congressman Goldman's office. Myra, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, everyone. Myra here from Congressman Dan Goldman's office. I have a small bit of updates. First one is regarding the letter of support that Congressman Dan Goldman wrote for Mixteca and 22 DACA recipients to go on a abroad trip to Mexico. I think this was a really huge highlight in the community just because it's pushing towards immigration reform and some sort of like pathway to citizenship. In addition, we do have an art competition. I'm so sorry for the background noise. We do have it. 1 second. Okay. We have an art competition for high school students that will be, the deadline will be on May 1st. And we're hoping that a lot of people from Sunset Park or at least Community Board 7 can show up and input their art. And in addition, we'll be having mobile office hours at Alexa Avila's office next week, Wednesday, April 26th from 2 to 5 p.m. And those are my updates as of now. I'll also be sending a community board report to the rest of the community board. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Myra.
Next, I have Clay Olson from Senator Gurnard's office. Clay, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, folks. I've really nothing additional to add other than what Senator Gurnard said, except that for those of you who don't know, our office is available to provide constituent services by email, phone, and in person. Feel free to contact us 718-238-6044 by email at Gounardes, GOUNARDES @nysenate.gov, or visit us in person in Bay Ridge, 8018 Fifth Avenue. Thanks.
Julio, that's it for my list.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of others, actually. We have Frida Zarita. Frida, you can.
Yourself. Where is she?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Just wanted to share a few updates here on the budget side of things here in the State Senate. So work continues on the New York State budget. While the new fiscal year began on April 1st, Senator Myrie and his colleagues are committed to fighting for priorities that make New York a better place for everyone. And so while discussions continue around important issues like housing and public safety, there are also other big ticket priorities that will be impacting, everyone's day to day. This includes combating food insecurity, providing universal school meals for K through 12 kids, and to making prescription drug prices more transparent. And so these are just some of the things that our office and Senator Myrie are focused on, is focused on putting more money in your pocket and more food on your table. And so one budget issue that Senator Myrie has been clear on is the dire situation facing our community's safety net hospitals here, for example, in Senate District 20, which serve some of our most vulnerable neighbors. And unlike larger private hospital systems that serve many privately insured patients, most of the safety net hospitals within our district The patients who go to these institutions are either uninsured or are on Medicaid. And so as a result, these safety nets typically run deep deficits year after year, and our district alone is home to 4 of these safety net hospitals. And so a couple of weeks ago, Senator Myrie joined fellow elected officials, advocates, and many of our healthcare heroes outside of SUNY Downstate, which is the city's only state-run hospital, which is facing unique financial straits. And so after the state designated Downstate a COVID-only hospital at the height of the pandemic in 2020, it had to cancel all other procedures and still has yet been able to stabilize its revenue. And so SUNY Downstate was there for our community and for Senator Myrie personally. And so that is something that we're continuing to ensure that this budget delivers is for SUNY Downstate in Senate District 20. He's also fighting for more permanent solutions to the structural problems facing other safety net hospitals across Brooklyn and the rest of our state. So Health Committee Chair Gustavo Rivera and Senator Myrie recently introduced the Health Equity Stabilization and Transformation Act, and that would specifically reform Medicaid reimbursement rates for our most vulnerable hospitals and unlock more federal funds and directing an additional $4 billion to these institutions. So I think the message with this is our safety net hospitals provide critical life-saving care to people with few other options, and investing in them today will ensure that they are here for us tomorrow. Besides the budget, we're also fighting to improve conditions at our NYCHA developments. And we have a legislation that would allow the state to finally step in and take down unnecessary scaffolding that blocks light, limits mobility, decreases safety, and costs tens of millions every year. So as budget negotiations continue, Senator Myrie and the office want the community to know that we will keep fighting for our district priorities. If there's any constituent assistance that anyone needs, you can call the office number at 718-284-4700, and we can go ahead and make an appointment and assist anyone who needs assistance. And lastly, we just have, as a reminder, we are open Monday through Friday for constituent services from 10 to 5 p.m. Via appointment, and we have a CUF representative every Wednesday for assistance with any housing related matters. That is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frida.
Next, I have Emmett Mendoza from Assemblymember Martinez's office. Emmett, can you please unmute yourself?
Hey everyone, this is Emmett. I'm also out in the field. I'm actually talking with Edward about what's going on at the park. But just quickly, I know that a lot has been shared with the budget. Nothing's for certain yet. We're still deliberating. They voted on an extended today, I believe, until Monday. But we're expecting budget negotiations to probably continue for like 2 more weeks. But just events this Friday. There's the Brooklyn Borough President's Office is going to have an Aging in Place community resource fair at the United Senior Center here on 475 53rd Street from 10:30 in the morning to 12 p.m. There's going to be numerous selected offices that are in this hall. They're going to be there as well as numerous organizations and the Department of Aging for the city. Tomorrow, there's going to be a workshop for the MTA Brooklyn Bus Redesign pop-up. It's going to be tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the corner of 5th Avenue, 44th Street. This is an outdoor event. They're going to have their whole team there, like people who do logistics, like the redesigns, the engineers. So I do highly encourage everyone to show up. This is going to be really important. We're definitely going to be pushing for more workshops down the line, and hoping to get the MTA to also do like a community board centric meeting for CB7. But this is the best opportunity. Tomorrow is the best opportunity to participate. Durley, this is maybe like outside on the periphery of CB7, but there's going to be a Gowanus Canal area community availability sessions workshop that is being hosted by the State Department of Environmental Conservation tomorrow at 7 p.m. at PS 372. it is out of our district on First Street, but as some community members mentioned, whatever comes out of the Gowanus does impact our waterfront here in Sunset Park. So so important to be able to learn what's going on. And then lastly, we're collaborating with Neighbors Helping Neighbors for a workshop on April 25th, next Tuesday, to talk about know your rights regarding housing, as well as a piece of legislative proposal called Good Cause Eviction that will provide tenant protections to tenants who live in private homes or private apartments. So it's going to be really critical. It's going to be this Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. at 132 32nd Street, Suite 106, which is at the Neighbors Helping Neighbors office. Lastly, I'm going to drop my email in the chat, but if there's any constituent inquiries or any legislative inquiries that you may have for things that are going on in the budget or also post-budget, feel free to reach out. But that's my update for today. Thank you and have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, Emmett.
Next, I have Anastasia Yaskova from the Mayor's Community Assistance Unit. Anastasia, can you please unmute yourself?
Good evening, everyone. This is Anastasia Yaskova, Brooklyn Board Director, Community Affairs Unit, Mayor's Office. I don't really have any major updates for tonight, other than, as we all know, that the SNY new regulations for trash collection are in effect as of April 1st. Other than that, I'm always here. Any assistance needed, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia.
And I believe that is it for elected officials.
Thank you, Natasha. And thank you to our reps. Moving on to the chair's report, I will attempt to be brief. I'd first like to thank, as Mon mentioned, we will be getting some new board members very, very shortly. I'd like to take this time to thank some board members who will be rotating off the board. I'm not going to name them because some folks have not publicly said that they will be rotating or have not said that they will be reapplying. But I'd just like to thank board members. There was one board member who did resign recently. Rovika Rajkasan did resign from the board a couple of weeks ago. So I just did want to acknowledge and thank her for her years of service to this board. And in general, this board cannot operate without the volunteers on this board. And I am eternally grateful for the work that each and every one of you do. And sincerely appreciate all of your work, and eternally grateful. So thank you. And I'm very much excited to meet some of our new board members and hopefully looking forward to meeting them very soon. As Edward mentioned in his report, last night was the first DOT 3rd Avenue workshop. This board has been on record for decades on the conditions along 3rd Avenue. We have been asking for this for years. It is absolutely critical that we get the word out for the following workshop. For everyone here, expect an email from me tomorrow. I absolutely would love to see every single one of you at the following meeting. Bring your neighbors, bring your friends, bring your partners, bring your kids, bring everyone. It is absolutely critical that we are continually on the record on what we want to see for the 3rd Avenue corridor and what are our concerns, right? Like it's all we say all the time and in these meetings what our concerns are, but rarely do we have the opportunities to actually say that in a room with the policymakers, right? And it's so important that we get that on the record so that they're hearing it from not just the people who are the volunteers on the actual meeting, but the people who are the small business owners, the people who commute to school, who walk to school, from the kids who have to cross 3rd Avenue to go to the schools that are being built, like from everyone who lives in and breathes in this community that it's so crucial that we're at these meetings. So I strongly encourage you, get the word out. We're really trying to show up and show out to the next meeting on April 27th. So stay tuned for an email from me tomorrow. Earlier or last week, Jeremy and I had a meeting with the folks from City Harvest. They presented a couple of, I believe, I can't remember what board meeting, but just to learn a little bit more about their space. I'm really excited about the work that they're doing. We're going to be hearing a little bit more from them in the coming months. I really would love to integrate some of the things that they're doing into our neighborhood. They did mention that they're working on an event space, and it's a little exciting to hear that they're going to try to do a little bit more. One of the things that I asked for is that we don't have a lot of event space in this community, and one of the things that I would like to see is like an actual community event space that community residents have access to and they can utilize. So that's one of the things I would love to see. So I'm hopeful that there's going to be more participation and more things hearing from City Harvest and some of the things that they're doing, the good work that they're doing over there. Earlier, a couple of weeks ago, this board also sent a letter of support for the renaming of PS 958. For those that don't remember, PS 958 is a new school on 36th Street and 5th Avenue. One of the new schools that opened recently. A couple of years ago now, this board has been on record for supporting a renaming for a new school in our district for after Dr. Antonia Pantoja, who was a pioneer in bilingual education in New York City. And it's only fitting that, you know, one of our schools was renaming, and so we sent a letter in support of renaming PS 958, and they're in the process of renaming their school, doing a search for renaming their school. So it was only appropriate that in their process we send our own a letter of support. So we're excited to do that. And I'm going on my list. Also, a couple of weeks ago now, Jeremy, myself, Natasha, and Amel Afzal, fellow board member, met. And it's really great special shout out to Amel, who's spearheading a lot of our social media and a social media rebrand that we're really excited to work on and to announce in a couple of weeks. One of the things that we're really thinking about is how can we better interface with members of the public. And it's when we launch our new website, it's really going to go hand in hand with a new and improved website and a kind of social media relaunch and rebrand so that we can better engage with folks and better utilize social media so that it is engaging folks in a way that is meaningful and useful. And also being better at utilizing the social media tools so that it's easier for staff to interface with. Because it's great to send out a tweet, but it's also good to know how does that tweet interface with people? How does a social media post, like an Instagram post, interface? Like, it's all about the different metrics, and I'm really, really excited to launch those. And we really could not have done it without Amel's guidance and support. So I really want to appreciate and thank her. And stay tuned for when we launch, because it's also really we're gonna ask all of our board members to really amplify our channels and really hopefully gain some new followers in the Twitterverse, Instagramverse. I don't know if that's what you call it, but I'm just gonna say that, and our social channels. And then lastly, Emmett mentioned this, but also I wanted to mention it again. Brooklyn Bus Redesign, a pop-up workshop. There's some changes happening that they want to propose for our buses, and I think it's really important that people speak and let their voices be heard. It's happening tomorrow, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. 44th Street or 41st Street, 44th Street, 44th and 5th Avenue. And I just think it's really important that people hear what they want on our buses. And I think it's important that the MTA hears from community residents. And that is it for my chair's report. And if there are no questions, I see a hand from Pat Ruiz.
Can you hear me?
Now I can, yes.
Oh, perfect, because I always know I have problems with my microphone. I just wanted to, for the record, let it be known that the request for the renaming of a school in Sunset Park was about 5 years ago. And that was done by the Boricua Festival Committee. So I just want to thank the community board for continuing the support to get a school renamed, especially now that 958 is looking to rename their school. And I'm not sure if Edward is still on this call, but my question is, has the councilwoman done a letter in support of the renaming to Dr. Antonia Pantoja? Thank you.
I don't see Edward on, but that's something we can follow up with them separately. But thank you for asking that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll turn it to Jeremy for his report.
Good evening, everybody. Some of the items that I had on in my report have already been spoken about, some by several people. So Julio spoke about the city harvest meeting that he and I had last week. I'm not going to bore you with that. Several people have spoken about the DOT workshop that's coming up on the 27th at PS 503-506. I will bore you with that. Please show up to the meeting. I wasn't able to come to go to that meeting last night myself, but I will be at the one next Thursday, PS 503-506, 6:30 p.m. And of course, you're going to be getting emails and there will be social media posts about it from our office. There is some good news, though, with regard to 3rd Avenue and 60th Street, which has been pointed out we've been asking for 20 years for safety improvements. So there is some work that has been done, and it is being done as well. They are completing adding flexible delineators to each median. They will be adding speed cushions on 60th Street, both the east and west legs. It has been approved and it's awaiting design. They have put school signage in the area, warning drivers that there are schools on the west side of 3rd Avenue. They've extended the lead pedestrian interval by 2 seconds on 3rd and 60th Street, and by 3 seconds on 3rd and 59th Street. They're adding flexible delineators to each median, and they are studying the possibility of a speed camera. I don't know about you, but these sound paltry to me compared to what the need is. So I want to ask everybody once again to join us next Thursday at the workshop on 3rd Avenue. In addition to that, we've also been waiting for a study on Sealy Street. We've been waiting for more than a year on that. DOT's finally ready to show us what their study shows, and hopefully some improvements for Sealy Street. So that's going to be at our Transportation Committee next month on May 15th. And there will be a couple of other additional items, a street renaming for Andy Varela. And hopefully we will hear from DOT about the neighborhood loading zones. Forgive the dogs for being loud. This month, for some reason, was my month for meeting with NYPD brass. So I met with Chief Shell, who is the chief of patrol and in charge of quality of life. It was me and 9 other district managers. I spoke about noise violations. This was about quality of life stuff, parking and traffic enforcement, electric vehicles riding on sidewalks and in parks, automotive storage and parking on sidewalks, and off-route and oversized trucks. I also had an opportunity to join a meeting held by Council Member Aviles in our office, actually, with Chief Madry, who's the Chief of Patrol. That meeting was about the hiring process for precinct captains and the community's participation in that. I believe the council member got some changes to the process that are more community friendly. But I did sit in on that. I also met, along with other district managers, the 9 precincts that comprise Brooklyn South, with Chief McAvoy, who's the chief of Patrol Borough Brooklyn South, who had the good news, and you will see it in our police department statistics, that the 72nd precinct's crime has decreased the most of any of the 9 precincts of Brooklyn South. So that is good news for our community. Last week, I went to the 72nd Precinct Council. There was quite a discussion about the incident that took place earlier that week at the Sunset Park, which was also discussed earlier today at this meeting. And then this morning, I showed up at the Metropolitan Detention Center for a meeting. I should say I would have met with the warden, but I was embarrassed to discover that I wrote it in my schedule wrong, and the meeting was yesterday. So unfortunately, I didn't get to meet the warden this month. Also, actually, good DOT news, and this one I'm not going to be sarcastic about. They are planning to put a raised crosswalk at 6th Avenue and 50th Street. Raised crosswalk is a new strategy that they use in certain locations. I believe this is going to be the second one proposed, second one in our district. The first, I believe, is at East 5th Street. And then 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, I got a call from one of our constituents who lives on 39th Street saying she's been talking to workers at one of our local hotels who are telling her it's going to become a shelter. So I reached out to Department of Homeless Services. They got back to me last Monday and told me, no, they are not considering it for a shelter. And then we got an email from them on Wednesday telling us, oh, by the way, this hotel became a shelter yesterday. So they were not telling us the truth. If you want to get me very angry, if you'd like to see that, lie to me. Which they did. And Julio and I are working on a strong letter, and we will be inviting the commissioner to an upcoming meeting. More on that once that letter is drafted and approved, the draft and approved. Liquor licenses. Since the last meeting we had, there have been 18 new and renewal applications, and finally the police department statistics.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions? I see Barbara with a physical hand raised.
Hi, thank you. So yeah, they reopened toward the shelter at 235 24th Street, and we've had a lot of problems with that, and it's only been open a week. We had to call the police, a whole bunch of them, the residents congregating in front of our building, drinking and refusing to leave or move when we ask them to leave. So it gets us that season again. That's it.
Thank you, Barbara. Moving on to old business. Do any board members have old business? Moving on to new business. I see Catherine Walsh.
Yes, I promised to make this fast, but I just now with the weather getting better, we've talked about this in the board before, but I'm very concerned about the number of mopeds that I'm seeing in Sunset Park. Just heard from a neighbor today that, you know, within like the span of 5 minutes, there was a moped that like almost hit a senior and then almost hit someone with a stroller. And that was this afternoon. This, again, just the increase in mopeds are not allowed in the park. Dirt bikes are illegal in the city, but, you know, mopeds especially. I think this is a combination of awareness, education, and enforcement. I know we've talked about this in public safety meetings and transportation meetings, but again, if there's going to be a feedback or a letter that goes back to the precinct, like this is just gonna, I'm again, just like what we need to not see mopeds in the park. And then we need not to see mopeds on the sidewalks. So just reiterating that, the huge concern it is for all of us.
Thank you, Katie. Especially as the weather gets warmer. I tried to combine those two words. Any other new business items? Public comment. Do any members of the public wish to comment before the board? I see one hand up.
Julia, would you like me to call them?
Yes, please.
Okay, Hillary Stackpole, you can unmute yourself. And you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Hillary Stackpole from Kingsborough Community College. I'll share some information on our programs, but first I wanted to let everyone know that I'll be at the Sunset Park Library this Friday, April 21st from 3 to 5 with information on Kingsborough's continuing education, workforce development, and degree programs. Now for a brief listing of some of our continuing ed and workforce development programs. We have multiple English as a second language programs, from conversational to academic programs for those who have been accepted into CUNY. We have part-time and full-time GED prep courses in English and Spanish, as well as an intensive full-time program for students between the ages of 17 and a half and 20. We have a free ESL food handler certificate training program. For SNAP for SNAP participants, we have the Venture 5 program, which offers job placement followed by free career-related training to advance employment goals. And eligible classes there are ESL and high school equivalency. And certificate programs are certified home health aide, certified nurse aide, pharmacy technician, and emergency medical technician. We also have a great CUNY Fatherhood Academy, which is a free program that promotes responsible parenting and economic stability for unemployed and underemployed fathers through education, employment, and personal development. The program has 2 tracks, a GED exam prep and a college and career prep, and it's for dads and dads to be aged 18 to 30. We also have a CompTIA program in both A+ and Network Plus. All courses are free and online with live instruction, and these courses prepare students for the certification exams and offer internship and employment assistance. Now, all of our students, regardless of if they're continuing ed or degree seeking students, have access to our career services department, which offers job opportunities, resume review, mock interviews, career counseling, and on-campus recruitment events. And students also have access to our Access Resource Center, which is a one-stop place to connect to government benefits and resources. These are just some of our programs. And I'm gonna put my information and a link to our catalog in the chat. So anybody could feel free to reach out with any questions and feel free to share this information as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hillary.
Any other hands?
Yes, we see one more from Mina.
Oh, yes. Mina, you can speak. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to set a timer so I don't go over my allotted time. Good evening. My name is Mina Hong, and I am the assistant branch manager at Windsor Terrace Library. We are one of the Brooklyn Public Library branches, and our address is 160 East 5th Street. I'd like to let the community board and all of the attendees know about the significant cuts that the library will be facing. The city is proposing a $56 million cut to New York City libraries, which will severely impact our ability to maintain regular hours and provide our services, resources, and programming. National Library Week is April 23rd through 29th, and this would be an excellent time to let city leaders know how library budget cuts would impact you. And you can visit bklynlibrary.org/standup to send a note, and I'll leave that in the chat. I would also like to draw attention to the Teen Urban Art Jam. That is going to be happening on Saturday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. That is at Central Library. It is a free party for teens that was planned and created by teens with live music, crafts, and food. Anyone between 13 and 19 is welcome to attend. As for Windsor Terrace Library events, I'd like to highlight our board game program that happens every Tuesday for kids. It's called Game On, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. For teens, we're having a DIY make your own seed bomb program happening tomorrow, April 20th from 4 to 5 p.m. And we have a new adult librarian who is planning a lot of great events in May. And I like to highlight the fitness program. This is a free fitness program happening on May 24th, May 31st, June 7th, June 14th from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. And I will drop links and bullet points on everything I just spoke about in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mina. I have Jorge Muniz Reyes next. Jorge, you can unmute yourself.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Just one other quick thing that occurred to me, just as a Sunset Park resident that I know many of y'all who've lived in the neighborhood a long time have been monitoring, which is the, speaking of libraries, the opening of the new Sunset Park Library. As you know, has been promised to our neighborhood for a long time. COVID, of course, delayed many things in the neighborhood, but this opening of the new library and its exact timing, and particularly what is going to happen to the interim space that exists within the Brooklyn Community Board 7 meeting, I would like to see more public discussion. I've heard a lot of private conversations happening behind the scenes, but I think the public, particularly the Brooklyn Community Board 7 residents, deserve a public accounting of when this new library space is really going to finally be available, and particularly what is going to happen to the space that is at the Sunset Park, old courthouse, the Brooklyn Community Board space. Are we going to let it go back to the New York City Police Department to be used as basically a big filing cabinet? Or is it going to be actually used for public use and space? I think all of us who live in the neighborhood know how it needs to be used. I'm frankly surprised there hasn't been more public conversations by the Brooklyn Community Board on this. And I'd like to see the chair and practically every single community board member here actively working to see that it's put to public use in a public meeting and conversation, instead of the private conversations I've seen unfold, over the last year and a half. So that's my public comment on this matter. Hopefully this is something that y'all could prioritize sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last call for hands. I see
Thank you,
none,
everyone.
Julia.
Thank you, Jeremy. Is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn. Good night.
Thank you, Pat.
Second.
Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jeremy.
Have a good night.